Coach Garner here from hockeytraining.com, and in this video I want to talk to you about the movement optimization protocol. Now, the movement optimization protocol is something that we're incorporating into the off-season programs here at Hockey Training because it has decades of evidence behind it, and it's something I can't wait to bring to the hockey world. This is something that we're going to do post-workout all off-season long on resistance training days. But you might be thinking, what the heck is it? Well, the reason why I'm so pumped up to talk about it is because it's a loaded stretching routine, okay? Loaded stretching is something that's been around for over 50 years. It's in the training logs of gymnasts from over 50 years ago. And when something lasts that many decades, you know it has a ton of experience behind it, but it also has an excellent amount of scientific evidence behind it at this point as well. But it's never been converted into a hockey-specific pattern for hockey players, coaches, and parents to utilize to enhance their performance up until this point. So this is something absolutely brand new that we're bringing to the industry that has an unbelievable amount of benefits that we're going to get into. But I want to tell you basically what it is first, because a lot of people are unfamiliar with it. Loaded stretching is exactly as it sounds. You are going to stretch a muscle under load. Now, this can be done with weight, or it can also be done with your body weight. You can use your own body weight to create a loaded stretch very effectively, and you can also use equipment. So, for example, if I wanted to stretch my chest and anterior delts and create a loaded stretching effect in that area, I could do a flat dumbbell bench press and just hold the bottom and really feel that stretch. Or if I didn't have access to equipment, then I could do a hands elevated push-up stretch. And now I'm still loading that position and stretching it dramatically. So loaded stretching, this is something that is effective for adults, for teenagers, but also for youth. Because if you have a full gym, if you have a home gym, or if you train body weight only, loaded stretching can and should absolutely be in your off-season program design. The reason why I continue to say off-season is because it's not easy, okay? A lot of people associate when I say stretching or when I say mobility, if I say, movement optimization, a lot of people characterize these things as active recovery modalities, but this is difficult. This is very hard. This is something that, as you can see, builds strength, muscle mass, anaerobic capacity, fast twitch activation, agility. You don't get that many benefits unless something is incredibly difficult. And a loaded stretch, it involves two main things: stretching a muscle to its maximum range of motion, but then contracting that muscle while you're there. So if I was in that push-up motion, I'm also flexing my pecs at the same time to increase the peak contraction that much more. So you're creating a stretch, but contracting as hard as possible under load for 60 to 90 seconds. And this is also something, just like you would in your resistance training, you want to progressively introduce progressive overload as the off-season goes on. So something I really like to utilize is a total body circuit, because we want to unlock the entire body for hockey performance. So hip flexor, hip rotation, internal and external. You want to incorporate the chest and shoulder. You want to incorporate the lat and shoulder girdle. You want to actually attack the entire body, the hamstring complex, the groin. You want to get a total body loaded stretching circuit done post-workout. And the way in which I love to overload it is we'll utilize a total body circuit, and then your first time around, and this is just an example, you would do one loaded stretch for each joint capsule of the body for 60 seconds. And then in your next phase, you would do 2 sets of 60 seconds per exercise. So we've gone through just one circuit round of loaded stretching, and trust me, that's enough. You don't know how difficult this is until, you don't know how long 60 seconds is until you're stuck in that position for 60 seconds. So you do one round of each joint capsule per workout after resistance training days, so ideally 3 days per week. And then your next phase, you could do 2 rounds of 60 seconds. And then after, in your next phase, you could do 1 round of 90 seconds and then 2 rounds of 90 seconds. You could continue to progress. You could also reduce rest periods in between exercises or rest periods in between full circuits. The way in which you want to progressively overload this is totally up to you. I am more inclined to utilize 1 round, and then 2 rounds. And then move to my next phase and likely go back to 1 round, but a greater time under tension, and then 2 rounds with a greater time under tension. Up next, 1 round, greater time under tension. You get the idea. Progressively overload that over the course of the entire off season. And why do we do it? Unbelievable benefits here, okay? First of all, you will build strength and you will build muscle mass doing loaded stretching. Now, this is something a lot of people do not account for, but loaded stretching is an absolutely viable and scientifically demonstrated way in which you can put on both strength and mass. Plenty of excellent coaches who have a strong grip in the world of sports science utilize loaded stretching, but this is something that gymnasts were doing 50 plus years ago, but even bodybuilders like Chuck Sipes, he was doing this way back in the day when they had black and white photos to build massive muscles. And the reason why it builds strength and growth is because it activates an intracellular mechanism known as mTOR, okay? Basically, mTOR activation, you can think about mTOR as an intracellular signaling pathway to turn on muscle growth and strength development in the body. But mTOR really is a continuum. So you could turn on muscle growth and strength a little bit with some training, or you can turn it up a lot more with some training plus good nutrition, for example, or you could turn it up way more with excellent training, excellent nutrition. You get the idea. mTOR isn't like a light switch. It's more like a dial that you can continue to turn up. 2 things that turn up that dial to the frickin' max are eccentric muscle contractions and being under load in a stretched position. Your body sees both of those scenarios as extreme stressors, and in response, it wants to adapt to those stressors so it can better handle those stressors in the future. The way in which it adapts to eccentric loads and being stretched under a load is to jack up mTOR so that you're bigger and stronger to better handle that stressor in the future. So through eccentric contractions, very long and slow eccentric contractions, in combination with maximal stretching and muscle damage, you will build both strength and growth through maximal mTOR activation. And this is after already your functional resistance training workout that you've already done. So we're talking major gains here. Next is fast twitch. That's what I mean by FT here. Fast twitch muscle fiber capacity. This is a huge benefit of loaded stretching because when you are locked in an eccentric contraction and you are contracting that muscle, you are creating what's known as hypoxia within the local muscle area. Hypoxia is the absence of oxygen. So when you are lengthened and contracted, you are actually reducing blood flow. So you will feel it's like a major muscle pump. The major muscle pump will begin to accumulate in your muscle because blood can come in, but it cannot leave. This is also known as an occlusion effect. You may have seen some people tie ropes or bands around their arms and then begin doing arm training. That's what's creating an occlusion effect. You are bringing muscle into the arm, but it blocks the blood flow return. So basically arteries are open, but veins are closed when you do this type of occlusion training. Same thing happens under a loaded stretch. So what happens is your fast twitch muscle fibers, they have to turn on because your type 1 muscle fibers, your slow twitch fibers, these are active in the presence of oxygen. They are oxidative fibers. That's why they're involved in, say, like marathon running or very long 15, 20, 25, 30 reps. You're going to get type 1 muscle fiber activation because there's plenty of oxygen around. Type 2 muscle fibers, type 2A and type 2B, they are anaerobic muscle fibers. They are fast twitch explosive muscle fibers, and they can contract in the absence of oxygen. So you build fast twitch capacity because you are creating a hypoxic environment in the muscle that is loaded for 60 to 90 seconds. So you're activating fast twitch fibers for way more time under tension than they're normally used to. They might be used to more like a rep range of 3 to 6 or really 1 to 6. A sprint effort, plyometrics, box jumps, these are very fast twitch movement patterns, But if you notice, everything I just said is very short duration, very short duration. But you can increase that time under tension by creating a hypoxic environment in the muscle, because that's the muscle's forced to use those muscle fibers because there's not enough oxygen around to activate type 1 fibers. Okay? So you actually gain fast twitch, I could have wrote fast twitch work capacity. You're increasing the conditioning of your fast twitch muscle fibers in the areas that you are stretching under load because they are activated for way longer than normal. What's also awesome about this is fast twitch activation. You will gain a speed benefit. So if you're really paying attention here, there's a ton of science I'm condensing if you're noticing this. You're getting mTOR activation for strength and growth, but your fast twitch capacity, this strength and growth is going to contribute to functional outputs on the ice due to functional hockey muscle gain, but your fast twitch capacity, that's contributing more to conditioning. You notice 60 to 90 seconds sounds a whole lot like a shift out in the ice, doesn't it? Your shift on the ice is going to be about that long. It's not a mistake why I'm doing that. So we're creating capacity for fast twitch muscle fibers to condition themselves to remain fast twitch and create less fatigue with greater activation. So you're simply improving the conditioning of your anaerobic fibers, but you're also teaching your body to activate them sooner. So this is something that is excellent about loaded stretching, is because you're creating that hypoxic environment, you're actually training your body to activate safely your fast twitch muscle fibers sooner than they otherwise would have. So this is where we get a speed benefit, because you're basically training your body to activate fast twitch fibers sooner than they otherwise would have, but also longer than it otherwise would have as well. You're creating an environment where you are truly becoming a more fast twitch dominant athlete. So we're getting functional strength and mass gain from this. We are gaining anaerobic conditioning from this. We are also gaining more explosive speed due to faster high threshold recruitment of those fast twitch muscle fibers. And we're also gaining mobility and resilience. This one's kind of obvious, right? Because you are loaded stretching. I mean, nothing is going to drive the body to become more dynamically mobile than stretching under a load. If you've ever done loaded stretching, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. But what a lot of people don't take into consideration is when you do stretch, and this is why I love loaded stretching so much for mobility, when you do stretch, what do people tell you to do, right? Let's say we're doing a hamstring stretch, or let's just do this because I'll go off camera if I do a hamstring stretch. If I do like this type of lat stretch, right? What's the average coach going to tell you to do? You stretch, but then you relax. You relax so you can stretch more, or you exhale and relax so you can stretch more and achieve a greater range of motion. That's okay, right? Because you are achieving a greater range of motion with a relaxed muscle. The problem with that is that never happens out in the ice, ever. Anytime a muscle is in its fully elongated state, it is maximally firing. It is contracting at all out velocities, and you're never, for example, at the end of a stride length, you are maximum power development. You are not your leg. Imagine your leg being relaxed at the end point of a stride. You wouldn't be going anywhere. The puck would be taken off you immediately. No, hockey athletes, they're explosive and everything is firing in sequence in order to get the job done. That's what, where this resilience comes from, because you gain mobility because you're stretching, but you gain resilience to injury because you are strengthening and creating joint stability in the elongated state. So for example, if I'm doing a loaded hamstring stretch, I am now strengthening that hamstring in the elongated state. So if I was to ever get to tear my hamstring or to pull my hamstring, or very common in hockey, to pull your groin or have a knee injury due to groin issues, this is because that there is not enough strength and stability in the elongated position of that muscle. But loaded stretching elongates your muscle, and then you're forced to strengthen it and stabilize it for 60 to 90 seconds. So you gain massive injury resilience because you're strengthening the most injury susceptible endpoint of movement patterns out on the ice. So athletic mobility, injury resilience, and last but not least, you get a major benefit towards agility and change of direction speed, because the two biggest components of muscular contraction involved in agility are eccentric strength and isometric strength. Why? Well, eccentric strength is your brake. So you can think about if you are a hockey player who has good top speed, but if you can't stop on the dime and you're more like one of these players who you do like that choppy stop, or you need to kind of slow down first before you do your big stop, that's someone who's eccentrically weak. They lack decelerative strength. Decelerative strength comes from eccentric strength. In a loaded stretching position, you are training eccentric strength maximally. For example, if I'm under load, let's say I've got 2 dumbbells, right? And I'm holding this stretch, I'm holding this chest stretch with my dumbbells. I'm going to be here, but as I fatigue, I'm going to slowly kind of go this way, right? Because it's getting more fatiguing, and I'm feeling the stretch, and I'm still contracting my chest, but it's such a slow decrease, because I'm probably going to start here and feel that stretch, but as I fatigue, I'm going to get here. Or when I'm in a hands elevated push-up, I'm going to be here, but as I fatigue, I'm probably going to get lower and lower and closer to the ground. That's a slow and brutal eccentric muscle contraction, a brutal one. But that maximally strengthens your decelerative strength, so you can stop on the dime. That is a huge component of change of direction speed and agility. But it also maximally trains your isometric strength, because you stay in one position for so long that you train isometric strength. And when the more isometrically strong you are, the shorter your absorption to redirection phase is. So when you are changing direction, let's say we're going to stop here and then explode in this direction, that is nothing more than an eccentric to concentric muscular contraction. So the shorter time, it's known as a redirection phase. The shorter time you can have between an eccentric and concentric contraction, that is what's going to determine your quickness, change of direction speed, and agility. Eccentric strength is that loading, but the time in between that eccentric and concentric is isometric. The stronger you are isometrically, the shorter your redirection phase is. So if you are weak isometrically, you might load and then explode. But if you are strong isometrically, it'd be load, explode, because that absorption phase is decreased dramatically. You are training isometrically for 60 to 90 seconds per muscle group in the body. So you're getting huge agility benefits here from eccentric and isometric strength, and your concentric strength is already covered in your program design. Everybody is almost always concentrically fine, but they lack eccentric and isometric strength because there's no focus on it in their program design. They don't care about tempos, they don't do loaded stretching, they don't do any of this stuff. So they're concentrically fine, and that should always be covered anyways, and it's going to be covered with your explosive work. But this eccentric and isometric stuff is the foundation at which allows the concentric stuff to work so much better. So movement optimization protocols. I can't be more excited about it than I already am. This is something I think should be done a minimum of 3 times per week throughout the off season, ideally immediately after resistance training sessions, and it should be done in a total body circuit that is progressively overloaded over the course of the whole off season, and you will become a better hockey player because you'll get functional strength, muscle mass, anaerobic conditioning, speed development, athletic mobility, injury resilience, and improvements in change of direction speed, all from one circuit. There's barely anything out there that can say with a high degree of scientific evidence that you will get all of these from doing one circuit. That's movement optimization protocol. I hope you liked the video. Like and subscribe if you learned something here today, and let me know if you have any questions in the comment section below. Let's go.